All right, forget about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez going after the big boys and how they're gouging the small investor. Representative Omar has gone one step further to say, you know what we should do is tax all Wall Street trades, then use the dough to cancel student debt and get things really going. That has my panel really frothing. We've got Rebecca Walser here, Walser Wealth Management, Dan Geltrude, America's accounting, as they say, the CPA and market analyst extraordinaire, Laura Fink, Democratic strategist. Laura ended with you. Let me begin with you then on what you make of what the Congresswoman is saying. Tax Wall Street trades. You'd raise a lot of money doing that, and you could do a lot of things with that, including canceling, I think she said, all student loan debt. What do you think?
Well, we've got $800 billion over 10 years. This is a wealth tax, make no mistake about it. And Representative Omar is not the only one supporting it. Every Democratic presidential candidate supported taxing high-frequency traders and the wealthy. We know that this tax will be paid by wealthy Americans because we know that rank-and-file Americans, those making the median income or less, don't trade very often if they own stocks, and 6 out of 7 of them don't own stocks directly.
You might take a look at who's been buying AMC and BlackBerry and Express and GameStop. Those are not all, Dan Geltrude types. I will be curious, though, how far you think this goes, though, because, Laura, the first thing I notice is that there could be a lot of parents out there or kids themselves who've been working at paying off their debts, and then they see a lot of other folks getting off scot-free, and it's all paid for, all done. They're going to be angry, aren't they?
Well, I think she's throwing that out there as one thing. I mean, when we look at Biden's plan, he has a plan to forgive debt for those of lower income. So not those people whose parents can afford to send them to Yale. But to get back to this tax for a minute, I know this panel probably doesn't like any tax, but this is something that MAGA hat wearers and progressive Democrats can agree on, because Wall Street truly has not been taxed at the rate that it should be. And we know that they are benefiting from the pandemic. Stocks are soaring, and rank and file Americans are really hurting right now.
Well, just don't confuse Wall Street with individuals. That's all I'm saying, Laura. I mean, there's a view that you're going after the man or whatever here, but the fact of the matter is, investors pay that, rich or poor. But I get what you're saying. But Dan, you're one of those fat cats, Dan, and I understand. But Dan, you're one of those fat cats, and the notion is that Wall Street's had it easy. The big boys who've been investing and doing so well, it's time that they pay, you've heard it before, their fair share. This is a step in that direction. What do you say?
Well, that's the headline, right, Neil? That's what draws people into the argument of we got to stick it to the man. But that's not true. Look, I said from the very beginning, when Joe Biden was talking about that he was going to raise taxes, believe him. When he said he was only going to raise taxes on the rich and corporations, that's where you stop believing him, because this tax is going to be passed through to anyone who has a trade. And to then say you're going to take that money and make college free or to forgive college debt makes no sense, because they're not related. The whole thing about the college debt, Neil, is it's not that it's not too expensive. It is. But people are not managing the return on their investment related to going to school. If you want to go to Harvard, which is fine, majoring in becoming a librarian, and not that there's anything wrong with that, is probably not a great return on investment. So look at where you're going based upon how much money you've spent on your education.
Well, Rebecca, I want to look at this from another vantage point. And here I fault Republicans and Democrats that they might come up with creative ways to come up with more money, but never really to save money, never really to address spending, the underlying problem that leads to these massive deficits, $3.5 trillion in the year just spent. We're closing in on $30 trillion in total debt right now. So I would much sooner see them look at that other side of the ledger. And here I'd fault both parties under multiple administrations. That is not being considered here. It's just how can we get still more? And that is what worries me. Your thoughts?
Well, and I agree with you, Neil, because now what we're seeing is that because we're still in the middle of this global pandemic, that it's no holds barred and there's no restraint at all. And rightfully so, temporarily, while we don't want to go into the middle of a Great Depression. But now we spend almost $8 trillion after we have this next round of stimulus. This is unsustainable. So we do need to look at spending, and we need to look at getting our economy open. What I find is suspicious with Representative Omar. She's presented this before, but why now, just after this week's work of Robinhood and shutting down trading, are we bringing this up? Because this is, like to Dan's point, this is going to affect the little guy. The big guys will figure out how to get around it or how to do something to pass the cost on. It's the retail traders that are going to bear the brunt because it's going to prevent them maybe from trading freely, and that's not what a free market does. So I have a problem with a tax that prevents free market trading, and I definitely have a problem with what happened this week as well.
All right, I want to pursue what's happening, particularly in some of these trades we've seen of these big online stocks and what's been happening there, Resurrection and the Washington fight. I want to explore that with you guys in the next hour. For now, thank you very much for weighing in on all of this. In the